Hello and welcome to another episode of Rising from the Ashes. I'm bringing you this episode. Like a lot of you, I'm currently traveling for the holidays. Uh, so I apologize in advance if the video quality and the audio quality is not as good as usual. But I thought I would do this video because I think a lot of people try to quit during holidays, especially during this period because of New Year resolutions and such. Uh, and it is a time when generally people kind of, let's say, indulge and then kind of start to think about moving away from smoking, for example. So to that extent, I thought, today it might be a good time to talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of quitting in a period like this, or like, let's say, the Christmas New Year season. And B, importantly, kind of give you some tips on how to quit during this time. What are the things to keep in mind, and what are kind of, let's say, some of the do's and don'ts as you kind of use specifically this season to start quitting smoking. So let me get right into it. So before we get into the actual, let's say, tips itself, I actually quit smoking in this season, slightly earlier than this. I quit after an Indian festival called Diwali. And it kind of really helped me because it also is the Indian New Year, and so you could say that I quit. I quit basically smoking as a New Year's resolution. So I think quitting during this time is very powerful. So let me talk through what are some of the advantages and what are some of the pitfalls to look out for. I think in terms of advantages, the first, whenever we have, let's say, a change in calendar, specifically we have a new year, we subconsciously reset, let's say, the slate, right? Like we kind of think both consciously and subconsciously that we are starting with a clean slate. So to that extent, it is a time at when our mind is much more open psychologically to kind of changing certain behaviors. I think that is why a lot of people, let's say, have New Year's resolution, right? So I think it's important to kind of take advantage of the fact that we subconsciously think that everything is new again, so we can be a new person, right? Second, I think this is also a time when work wise, or let's say if you're working, or if you're in business or so on, these typically tend to be let's say not as stressful, so you are able to quit, let's say, much less stress, and it kind of maximizes the probability that you're actually able to quit smoking. Third, it also is kind of, let's say, a period when we've kind of gone through a lot of overindulgence, so generally we are not really looking forward to kind of continuing these indulgences, right? We've had a lot of food, we've had lots of drink, we've kind of, and as all of these add up, you kind of start feeling physically uncomfortable. So your body is also crying out for help, so to speak, right? So to that extent, that kind of gives us that extra incentive to quit. So these are generally the advantages of trying to quit during the holiday season. But some of these kind of advantages also kind of manifest as risk, right? So obviously, we are kind of in a place where we are kind of doing everything in excess. We are having lots of food, we are really having good companionship, etc. And being smokers, we kind of associate all of these events to smoking. So to that extent, that associations are reinforced, and it might be much more harder to kind of give up smoking at this time. Secondly, this is a time when typically, we go meet a lot of people, parties, etc. To that extent, there is also a lot of peer, let's say, interactions, which might make this harder. Let's say if you're just at home and you're trying to, let's say, figure that out, it's easier. Whereas if you've kind of always smoked, or you go and meet people you smoke with, that leads to problems. And lastly, I think this is a time when we kind of relax. We think we are enjoying, and this whole concept of relaxation and enjoyment is so deeply ingrained with smoking that it becomes slightly difficult to kind of break the association. So those were, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. There are advantages and disadvantages. So here are, let's say, my top 2 or 3 tips or thoughts to keep in mind if you do decide to quit smoking in this period. I do think it is generally psychologically much more powerful to quit in this time rather than any random day, because of some of the things I talked about the whole new year kind of subconsciously creating a sense of, let's say, change. But yeah, there are some things to keep in mind. So I think the first thing is don't keep, I think the first thing is don't try to quit very early in course of the holiday season. I would suggest a day like, the 1st or 2nd of January, so that, because you kind of had all your kind of enjoyment, and it becomes much more easier to kind of start thinking of it as a detox towards the end. So choose a date towards the end. The second thing is be extremely specific on the day and time you're going to have your last smoke, because I think other than, in this period especially, it's very easy for, let's say, a 1 week kind of celebration to kind of go into like a 2-3 week thing. So be extremely specific. Like some people argue that you should kind of, like, let's say, start much later after you kind of tapered off food and drinks or whatever. But I have a slightly different view. I think if you kind of wrapping up all your, let's say, celebrations with the 1st or 2nd, and you're going to do dry January or something of that sort, I would suggest just starting to quit smoking together along with that, because for the first couple of days, whatever it is that you're kind of embarking on, you're going to be miserable. You're going to kind of have withdrawal, etc. So it doesn't matter. I think you can have all of the withdrawals together. So you don't have to really segment, let's say, giving up alcohol 1 week and for whatever time you want to give up, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. You really don't need to do that separately along with quitting smoking. So if you're quitting smoking, just quit. But quit when you're psychologically sure that you don't have to kind of participate in anything for the next 2-3 weeks, right? Lastly, do on the first couple of days, try to not go out anywhere, plan to be at home without any social interactions, because I think, like I said, there is a lot of, let's say, spillover on some of the events and parties and stuff like that, and it becomes really hard to kind of, let's say no when you're in such an early vulnerable stage. So I will be doing a video on, like, what to expect in day 0 and day 1, but specifically in this period, because there is the factor that there's always going to be so much, let's say, things to do. I would suggest not kind of, let's say, planning anything for the first 1 or 2 days. Last but most importantly, do genuinely embrace the fact that a new year is going to start creating a new you, right? And this change is going to make your life better. You're going to become a much better person. You're going to become much more fit. You're going to, if you've had a lot of sports related objectives, this is the time when you're going to start really kind of achieving these once you start quitting smoking. So really embrace this subconscious or conscious, let's say, trick or cue that it's a new year and it's a new chapter of your life. So yeah. So if you kind of want to quit smoking, I strongly urge you to start this new year, and best of luck, and keep tuning into this channel to get more updates, more tips. We are going to launch our, let's say, day 0 through day 21, and what to expect in each of these days very soon. Hopefully that will be helpful as well as you start your journey to quit smoking. If you're enjoying the videos, please do subscribe, like, share it with your friends who want to quit smoking. Yeah, thanks a lot, and Happy New Year.